Nou, nogmaals, goedemorgen allemaal en welkom bij het MSSD-webinar. MSSD staat voor Managed Security Services Distributor. Dit is een global service vanuit Exclusive Groep. Dankjewel voor jullie interesse en voor jullie tijd. En ik ga het woord overdragen aan Andre Dieball. Dat is onze Group Director Services. En als iemand het verhaal goed kan vertellen, dan is hij het. Dus Andre, I'll leave it up to you right now.
Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you for taking the time joining us on this webinar call. I have to do it in English. My Dutch is very rusty. You know, it's probably at the end after I ordered 2 beers. That's it. I haven't been able to do anything more. As Liana already said, MSSD stands for Managed Security Service Distributor. And I think it makes sense to understand a little bit and to talk a little bit about why we have called it MSSD instead of MSSP, because MSSD is actually there to help you and support you in your evolution to a value-added MSSP model. Apart from, you know, that's obviously a nice marketing trick, calling it MSSD because no one is using it, we actually have chosen this on purpose to make crystal clear that our offering is for the channel only. So yes, we will obviously interact together with you, with your customers, but there is no commercial relationship between us and the end users. Everything will go via our partners, via you. And we have done a lot in the back end in order to design the service that it is ready for the channel. And you will see throughout the presentation that a couple of things are different than what you would normally think about, you know, an MSSP supporting model in regards of what packages you can actually get, what packages depend on other packages, etc. But I'm going to talk about this in a minute. As of today, basically as of I think it was last December, when you look at avtest.org, we actually hit the barrier of 1 billion unique malware in 0 days. And every day we see a minimum of 46 new unique malware or 0-day exploits. And we all know it only takes one for an end customer or for anyone else to actually be compromised. So the luck is we are in a very good situation because there is security hardware, there is security software, there are solutions out there that basically, you know, cover more or less everything. You know, from vulnerability scanning, from patch management, next generation firewalls, endpoint protection, data security, database security, Active Directory, whatsoever. So customers can actually buy an awful lot of security kit, security gear, security solutions. But the problem with this is just buying it does not make any customer necessarily more secure. There is a false sense of security because just having the right tools implemented does not necessarily make anyone more secure. What the critical point is, you need to listen what these devices, what these solutions, what the software exactly, etc. is telling you. What do they have to say? You need to analyze the log files. I'm going to talk about log files in a minute. But we need to look further down what these devices are actually telling us. We need to consolidate and correlate all these events in order to avoid, you know, false positive, fatigue, etc. And we need to do this 24/7. And for most customers, it might not necessarily be a problem in, you know, investing in things like endpoint security, etc. But most customers actually struggle with monitoring their solution. And although there are plenty of, you know, SIEM and meanwhile SOAR solutions out there, etc., and even if the customer is buying them, they might end up with a situation where they have basically everything in place, but there is one fundamental element they are missing, and that's the people. Where do I get the people? Where do I get the engineers? Where do I get the analysts actually working with this tool, analyzing what these tools actually have to say, creating alarms out of this, creating alerts out of this, alerting the customer 24/7, and help the customer in mitigate and remediate all these problems. And that is something that is a huge problem for most customers, and also what our customers, that is the partners, have told us, for them as well. You know, even if they go, and most customers of us are actually moving into the MSSP business, and they provide some kind of, change consumption models, doing it, with a monthly fee that includes the support, and that maybe include also a managed element in regards to helping the customer doing the changes, doing the daily capacity, operational management, etc. But there is still one thing missing, and that is the 24/7 monitoring in order to make actionable and usable information out of what these devices are actually telling you. And that is the main reason why Exclusives actually started 2.5 years ago, looking into this market and trying to find out where can we as a distributor actually help our partners, that is the vendors, and our partners, the resellers, the GSIs, the global system integrators, etc. And what we figured out is basically we are there to exactly fix these gaps. And when we talk about gaps, we not necessarily talk about that, we provide you with a piece of software, etc. That's standard. But what we are trying to do is we try to fill your and the end users gaps in regards to staffing, knowledge, and tools in order to limit the end users' exposures to security threats. And that is why we have started MSSD. And as said, we call it Managed Security Service Distributor. And there is an offering under MSSD right now that will be constantly enhanced. So MSSD is a kind of, a home or an umbrella brand name for any type of managed service that we're going to offer in the near future to our partners, to our resellers, in order to resell this to their customers if they want to. Not necessarily if they want to, but you can just sell it to the customer, or you can integrate it into your own service. And you're going to see this in a minute. As I said, we started 2.5 years ago. And obviously we did our due diligence, and we asked about 900 resellers globally, and I think about 700 end users of these resellers globally, and tried to find out what is it actually that resellers want to see from a distributor in regards to managed security services, and what is the perspective of end users. What do they actually want? And what we figured out is there are the typical, let's say, elements. There is a 50 billion total addressable market by 2023. That was predicted by IDC last year. No, it was actually predicted 2018. The figures from last year, that is mid-2019 to mid-2020, actually have shown that we are already at 46 billion per year in managed security services. And the revenue growth compared to a traditional resale market is right now 2 times faster, with a nice average gross margin of 50% for MSSPs. Why is that? There is a constant pressure on hardware, subscription, service, etc. sales, but as soon as it comes to value-add services, the margins are obviously much higher. But in order to provide these managed services, you need to have the right people at the right time. And this is something where our resellers told us we can do this for the daily management, but we cannot do it for the more resource-intensive and special knowledge requiring managed detection and response, security operations center, etc. So end customers really struggle with an increasing complex threat landscape. Yes, they can buy tools for every type of threat, but in the end, it's just a tool, and we need to make sure that they can actually make the best out of these tools, which is something the vendors look after right now very much. And this is why you basically see customer success positions at these vendors all over time. And we all know there's a shortage of skilled talents. And it's already hard for every one of us, trying to get security engineers. Basically what we need to do is we need to hire young, talented people and train them on our own, and to make them knowledgeable, certified, get them experience, etc. But for an MDR or a security operations center operation, you do not necessarily need security engineers. What you need is security analysts, and they're even harder to find, and it takes very long, probably something like 3 to 5 years, to train a security analyst from scratch. And the biggest problem here is not just finding them and hiring them, and obviously, unfortunately, they're quite expensive because they know exactly their value in the market. The average retention time of a of a security analyst as of today is 13 months. After 13 months, security analysts go just somewhere else because someone is waving with an even bigger paycheck. And just think about how many of your end customers can actually afford hiring 5, 6 security analysts, because that's the number you need in order to operate something 24/7. That's basically simply impossible. Most end users also want to reduce the cost burden of in-house IT teams. You know, they agree to you and say, okay, yes, I understand we need to invest in a secure remote access connection. We need to invest in endpoint security, etc. But I do not have the people in my IT team in order to manage this. Can you offer this solution as a managed service? And this is what we hear constantly. And the other thing we heard a lot, and we heard this a lot from end users, and it was quite surprising to us, to be honest, from the survey, is end customers are very much aware of the difference between CAPEX and OPEX. That's nothing we need to tell them. But what a lot of end users, specifically end users that have some experience with managed services in the past, told us is OPEX itself is not the big thing. What they want is they want predictable operational expenses. And they told us stories that they basically had something like a managed SIEM provider in the past, or managed log file archiving, etc. And their biggest problem was, yes, they pay monthly, for them it's OPEX, but they never know how big is the invoice next month, because the pricing was always based on some kind of index, like megabits per second, megabytes per day, etc., where they have no influence on. And that's something they really didn't like. You know, if they say, I go with the managed service and I go with the OPEX and I pay monthly, etc., and I sign a contract for 12, 24 or 36 months, I want to be sure that I know what I'm going to pay in 12 months. Yeah, and that was a very, very big thing. So despite the fact that there is a huge market out there, and we basically see more and more out of our partners coming to us and telling us, my customer asked me to fix this problem for him and I cannot fix the problem. But in the end, it's always on us to make the first move. Despite the fact that there is a $50 billion market out there, don't expect all the customers to actually knock on your door and just order a service like they would order a product. In the end, we are still talking about a service. So there's much more integration work, knowledge about the customer requirements, etc. required. And this is where we're here to help you whenever you need our help. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. So let's talk about the current offering. What we offer today is basically a managed security service consisting of 2 packages. Number 1 is the monitoring and alerting. This is the 24/7 SOC-based managed detection and response. This is where we operate the security automation orchestration platform, where we do all the threat event enrichment, analysis, consolidation of the events, correlation of the events, root cause analysis. We do the alerting based on the agreed alerting rules, incident monitoring. We provide you or the customer with a security dashboard where they have all information in real time live in the dashboard. We support the customer with threat hunting, post-breach investigation, remote breach support, etc. So this is the Security Operations Center 24/7, where we basically do all the Security Operations Center work. On top of that, and only on top of the SOC offering, you or your customers can actually opt in and say, okay, it's great, but I also need someone to do the daily management, the operational capacity management, all the updates and upgrades, checking the policy against compliance and best practice, doing all the change management databases, automated rules of engagement, monitoring the solution for availability, for health factors, doing the configuration backup, etc. This is what we call managed prevention and countermeasures. So in the managed detection and response offering, we actually do the Security Operations Center. Here, we do the daily management for the customer or for you. This, as I said, is only available as an option on top of SOC. You cannot buy this on its own. And there are a couple of reasons why this is not available on its own. And the two main reasons are all about protecting you as our partners. Reason number one is we already have a lot of you who do offer things like this already. Yeah, you do offer managed services, either with a monthly fee, contract based, or you do this on professional service base, on demand, etc. But you help your customers already with updates and upgrades, with the daily management, maybe the availability monitor, you back up the configurations, the customers coming to you when they want to have a change in the configuration, etc. That's fine. And we have no interest in taking this business away from you. In fact, if you can do this, but you struggle to do the real 24/7 security operations center, you can actually add this offering to your own managed service. And that is the whole reason why we designed it this way. Second reason why you can only get this as an option is we want to avoid that partners who never invested in, let's say, Palo Alto, in Fortinet, who have no trained engineers and just are on the market, trying to grab opportunities away based on price from our partners who actually have committed to the vendor, who have trained engineers, etc. We don't want to push this out to the market and actually allow this type of resellers to grab away deals and to grab away your customers just because they can offer a managed element very cheap. And that is the reason why we basically said managed prevention and countermeasures is only available as an add-on to the security operations center. And it's the complete opposite of what the resellers would do. The reseller basically say, this is my base offering. And if you want to have the cherry on the cake, you go with my SOC, managed detection and response. And we did it the other way around. As said, we designed it to be compatible and supporting you in the channel. And that's why. The second important, one important thing to know how we operate the Security Operations Center is everything we do from day one is based on zero trust. So we completely follow all zero trust rules, all the best practices, all the guidelines from day one when it actually starts with onboarding the customers, where we can onboard the customer for you, or we provide you with the required information, the required checklist, etc. And you can actually sell this as a professional service. There is no fee for the onboarding of a customer. There's no thing like a setup fee. But obviously, we do not necessarily want to take a burning house into our service. So we actually expect that the existing installation follows best practice. And we all know how many installations are out there that do not really follow best practice. So it is a huge continuous professional service opportunity for you as well, specifically around zero trust. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So what's actually in the service? And I briefly talked about it. You're going to get this presentation after the call. I guess that the colleagues from the Netherlands are sending this out to you. As said, everything is based on our security operations center with the zero trust orchestration automation platform. There is a dedicated security cyber incident response team. What I mean with this is that in the managed detection and response, we have security analysts working. In the managed prevention and countermeasures, we have security engineers working, because these guys here need to have product knowledge. They need to know how to configure a Palo Alto device, a Fortinet device, a Cisco device, whatsoever. The security analysts do not necessarily need to have this knowledge. They need to have the security analytic skills. In the end, they don't care which device is behind this. They just look in what is happening and how does it actually look like compared to all the other events. Yeah, but this is also important to understand, because if we do the managed prevention and countermeasures, and we have, for example, a change request that the customer comes in or you come in, most of the time it's the customer making a change request saying, can you open this port to this machine? We need this for support. This is done by security engineers, but it's always checked by security analysts first. Every change request gets checked by the security analyst whether it has any impact on the security posture of the customer. And if we classify this, for example, as a high-risk change, technically, yes, we can do this. But we would classify this as a high-risk change, which would automatically trigger something like an approval chain, where not necessarily the person who has requested a change is able to approve this change. Maybe it needs to be his line manager. And this is all something we set up together with you during the onboarding process. So we have the automation orchestration platform. We have the threat event enrichment, where we use various open and closed sources to really determine how critical and urgent a security event is. And this is a very, very important element, because in the end, when you look at all these different tools available out there, they always cry for help. And whatever any tool has to say, it's always the most critical thing that ever happened on Earth. But it's really important to understand what is really happening and how does this actually relate to the customer. There might be a critical security event, but it might be completely irrelevant to the customer because it is happening in, let's say, a guest Wi-Fi. If we see connections to data collection websites or to command and control websites that happen on a guest Wi-Fi, that is managed over the same firewall but has a dedicated internet breakout, etc., the customer probably does not want us to give him a call Sunday morning at 2 a.m. But if the same thing happens in the finance network or in the server network or whatsoever, for sure they want us to give them a call because this is a critical event. But the event itself is always the same. It's just a matter of how does it match to the customer's requirement. And this is why we set relevance for the customers, for the microsegments, where we give together with you and the customer, give the microsegments a CIA value in regards to compliance, integrity, availability, etc. And this is where we actually set the rules, who to inform when. Yeah, we provide the customer and you, really depending on whether you want to integrate it or whether you just resell it with a real-time security dashboard. We can do another dedicated session with you if you're interested in looking really into the security dashboard. There's a lot of stuff I can tell you around, but it's going to take another hour in order to do this. Artificial intelligence-based threat hunting, when we do the management, very important, policy compliance, best practice validation. Every change gets approved by a security analyst before it actually goes into production. We have automated rules of engagement. This is basically the only element. When we have customers who do the management already, this one is probably the only element they cannot do right now. Automated rules of engagement actually means that based on the findings we have in a security operations center, and depending on the customer's network, we can automatically trigger actions that, for example, isolate a host, put it in a quarantine VLAN, shut down a switch port, shut down a virtual desktop, something like this, or isolate it. And that's something we can do based on the direct link into the firewall that we have when we do the managed prevention and countermeasures, and we can do this in real time. It's a kind of a red button situation. Whatever we do, including you always get something that we call that doesn't work. Oh, no, I need to go back. Sorry for that. Go back once. What you always get is in the portal, service management reporting and security improvement advisories. Obviously, everything we see in the security operations center that is critical, that requires action, etc., results in a ticket, and that ticket needs to be fixed. But there are situations where we find something either automatically by the policy engine that is running in the background constantly and checking the policy against best practice and whether the policy elements make sense, or manually by the security delivery manager, where we see elements where we say, okay, it's not really a massive problem right now, but it could become a problem, and it's definitely not according to best practice. So dear customer, please change this. So for example, it could be that we say the access rules to the management interface of the firewall are too open. You should limit this. We can basically say the access to the management interface is still, you know, anonymized because everyone is using the admin account and not personal accounts. When we have migration projects, we can basically say we still see rules from a, let's say, old Cisco ASA firewall or checkpoint firewall that are still in your new firewall, but you should change the rule to make the best usage out of your next generation firewall. This is what we call security advisories. If we do the management, if we do the managed prevention and countermeasures for you, we take care on fixing all these problems. But if you say, I want to do this and I just buy the managed detection and response from Exclusive, these security improvement advisories are actually professional service on a silver tablet. We tell you exactly what the problem is, we tell you exactly what needs to be fixed, and we track in the system whether it has been fixed or not. So there is not only a lot of cross and upsell opportunity for you in providing services, there's also a very huge professional service opportunity, specifically when it comes to implementing the security improvement advisories, constant development of the security posture, and zero trust. So we support, as of today, in the end, so first of all, we constantly add supported technology and products to our MSSD platform. And as of today, we do support Fortinet, Palo Alto, and Cisco. Basically, we support everything from Palo Alto. That's kind of easy. Cisco, we support the Firepower and the Meraki MX devices, which are most of the time only used for SD-WAN with carriers. And we support from Fortinet, not everything, because that's simply impossible. There's just too many technologies from Fortinet out there, and some of them are not even related to security, like FortiVoice. But we do support the main element, which is the Fortinet. We do support SD-WAN, and we are currently in the implementation phase for FortiEDR, which, as you know, is the Fortinet product that came out of the acquisition Fortinet did last year from Insider. You see FortiSwitch and FortiAP here, again with a little asterisk. Why is that? A FortiSwitch and a FortiAP do not necessarily create any security relevant log files. But most of the time, the FortiSwitch and the FortiAP is managed via the FortiGate, which is the beauty, the good thing about Fortinet's FortiSecurity fabric. So you manage these devices over the FortiGate. And therefore, we have decided, and this is what we see in the market, we have decided to say, okay, if the customer is having a FortiGate and he's having the managed prevention and countermeasures for the FortiGate, we manage the FortiSwitch and FortiAP that are connected to this FortiGate free of charge. So there's no additional charge for FortiSwitch, FortiAP. It's just, and it's not really security, but it's more the managed element. But in the end, we do support the secure endpoint, secure network SD-WAN, secure cloud, secure data center. We're constantly adding new technology to this, and we do not care at all where these devices are running. So you can have them running in a private cloud, virtualized on Nutanix, on VMware, on whatsoever, or you can have them running in public cloud, be it Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, to name just the big ones. Yeah, for us, it's just relevant. How do we get hold of the log files? And this is where the magic happens. So how do you actually sell this to customers, and how do we support you in this selling process? In the end, the sell process is 5 steps, and it's more or less the same all the time. So we have the opportunity identification, qualification, we have the pre-sales engagement, deal negotiation, closure, service onboarding, service delivery. The first 3 steps are more or less led by the partner. So you are the main responsible people here for this, but we support you wherever you want us to support you, be it with pre-sales, be it with professional services, with marketing collateral, with images, with presentations, joining you in a webinar, joining you in on-site meetings as soon as we are allowed to do on-site meetings again, all of this stuff. We are constantly there, but we want you to be front-facing to the customer so that you keep your position as a trusted advisor to the customer. When it comes to service onboarding and service delivery, we actually lead these steps. Yeah, service delivery is clear because that's constant delivery, but in the service onboarding, it's totally up to you whether you want us to do the onboarding or whether you want to do the onboarding yourself and sell it as professional service. We give you all the required material. It really depends on you. So the big question is, which prospects, which customers do I actually pick? And the interesting thing is, and this is what we figured out, is it's not always the biggest or most bright shining customers out there. It really depends on their security requirements and their awareness that they cannot handle it themselves. We have very big manufacturing plants, companies on this service. We have software company on this services, very big names. But we also have very small names on this service, and it really depends on the awareness of the customer. So I give you an example. We have there was a customer. It's a lawyer. It's a lawyer firm. They have a headquarter. In the headquarter, they have about 20 lawyers and all the operation, back office, etc. And they have regional wide in the EMEA, they have about 10 smaller offices with about 5 to 10 lawyers and a little bit of back office. And what I've done is they basically just put a 40 gate, a 40 switch, and 540 APs in these small offices. It's a very small customer. It's very small firewalls because they don't need big firewalls if they're only 5 people. And in the end, they can only get a 20 megabit DSL circuit. So there's no need for a big firewall. But they are absolutely aware that they have the right kit, but someone needs to listen what this kit is telling them, and they cannot do it. They're simply impossible. It's simply impossible for them to do it. So it's a small customer, but they are very much aware if they get hacked, they are in serious trouble. Because if their data gets leaked out to the internet, their clients' data, their customer data, they can probably close down the company. And they're absolutely aware of this. So it really depends on the security requirements and the awareness of the customer. So a very good question to ask is actually, if something happens, can you inform your CEO within minutes? It's a very simple question. And we all know that the average time to or the mean time to detection of a breach is somewhere about more than 100 days before a company is actually realizing that it has been hacked. And this happens to all kinds of companies, even the biggest and best ones. It's very difficult. So a very good question, it's very provocative, but a very good question is, can you inform your CEO that there has been a security problem within minutes? And most customers actually say no. Why? It's a problem with the log files. The NIST security framework or cybersecurity framework actually says there are millions of possible signs of incidents. And you need automation in order to perform an initial analysis of this data and select the events that are interested for human review. There's always human review, but you need automation. And this is not something a simple SIEM or just a SIEM solution can actually deliver. So you need a lot of additional tools and additional knowledge. However, the effectiveness of just collecting the log files and doing some kind of analysis really depends on the quality of data that goes into it. So organizations should establish logging standards and procedure to ensure adequate information is collected by logs and security software. The point here is my tools give me actionable information? Not just information, not just sending out tickets whenever there is a critical alarm. I want to have actionable information, and I want to have someone who's telling me what do I need to do. Not just saying there is an alarm. Okay, what alarm? Where does it come from? What was the root cause? So the next question is, when customers say, yes, I have all of this, I have a SIEM, I have a log file solution, etc. Well, good. Can you get the answer to the problem within minutes? you know that there is a problem. That's easy because the security solution sent a log file with the word critical in it. But is it really critical? Where does it come from? What impact does it have? And what do I need to do in order to mitigate this problem? Can you get the answer within minutes? Yeah. So these are very, very simple questions in order to try to find out what is the security awareness level of the customers. Is it a specific type of end customers? Actually, to address what managed security services, as I explained already, we have big customers, big end customers, manufacturing plants, but also small ones like the lawyer office, retail shops, etc. So no, you can actually go for global accounts, but also for small and medium enterprises with strong security requirements. The most important thing here is the security awareness. If they do not have this security awareness, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be done. There's a lot of education that needs to be done in order to make them aware. But we are helping you all the time. So there are obviously some questions we have when you come back to us with an opportunity. So what devices are we actually talking about and how many? We want to help you. What service are we actually talking about? Is this customer already working with a different MSS service provider? Is it one of your competitors? Do we need to do something we call a proof of value? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Does the customer have specific compliance requirements like ISO 27001, payment card industry, etc.? Because there are modules, there are elements that help the customer in being compliant and having the right data for the reporting they need to deliver. Yeah, we have a lot of customers out there that basically said, okay, yes, I have been audited, I passed the audit, but what does it actually mean? Because these guys from KPMG, Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, etc., they actually just looked into the papers. Do I have documents that explain what I should do when something happens? Yes, I have them. No problem. What does the reality look like? Yeah? We will be with you at any stage of the process to assist whenever you want us to assist. We provide you with all the information. We provide you with all the help you want. Yeah. From a commercial evaluation, obviously commercial evaluation, we can help you here, return on invest, identify key stakeholders, define the compliance requirements, etc. As this is a service, it's not, yes, we can do a demo, and there are 2 demo types we can actually do together with you, and you can do them on your own. Number one is we can demo the portal, so that the customer actually gets a feel of how the service is working, how everything is operated, how do they interact with the service, etc. That's an easy thing. Just give us, a couple of hours upfront, and we will be able to demo the portal to your customers with a WebEx session or even on site as soon as we can travel again. The other thing we can do is something we call proof of value, and a proof of value is not a proof of concept or a demo. Why? Because we're talking about a service. We're not selling a piece of software. We are providing you with a service and your customers. So in order to do something like a POC or demo, we call it proof of value because there are certain things that need to be done. We actually need to onboard the customer's equipment, or at least a part of the customer's equipment, into the service. So there's a couple of paperwork that needs to be done in regards to GDPR, data processing agreement, etc., because we're dealing with live data, even if it's just for 4 weeks. So in order to do this, we actually help you that all of us, we want to see some success factors, yeah, and just don't want to have end users that are bored at home because of COVID, keeping everyone busy within your organization just to play around with new technology. So there should be some kind of success factors, etc. Yeah, and it's a proof of value. We need to onboard the customer because there's nothing we can actually ship. Quoting, not actually going into this in detail. Your colleagues at Exclusive Netherlands will be able to help you. Price lists are available from the Exclusive Networks Manager. Again, we have designed it to be channel compatible, designed for the channel. So that actually means there is no fancy metrics. There are no tons of pages or papers you need in order to find out the pricing. There's no need to come back and ask a project manager or service manager how much will this cost, etc. No, every element, every firewall has its own SKU and its own price. So if your sales colleagues actually go an opportunity and they have 10 firewalls in remote offices and one big firewall in a data center, and they have a little bit of, let's say, remote access solution, you can actually go into the price list and find the SKU and find the price just by knowing which firewall it is. So we designed it to be as easy as possible. One thing is important in regards to contracts, but as you see, there are some contract terms. For example, we don't do any contracts where the devices do not have an active vendor support contract or anything less than 6 months. But these are details. No need to talk about this in this presentation, and you will get this presentation anyway. We also provide you with, this is one example, with flow charts. In this example, the end user journey map, having all these different stages. What are the touch points? What is this stage actually all about? And who should actually lead this stage? Is it a partner? Is it the end user? Is it us exclusive? And as you can see, we are basically even in the stages that you should lead, because you have the contact relationship to the customer. We are always there to assist and to help you. Yeah. And in the end, the good thing with the service is when you sell a piece of hardware, when you sell, a license key whatsoever, when the deal is closed, the deal is closed. But with the service, the good thing is closing is just the beginning. So in MSS managed security service business actually really start to be interesting when the deal is coming in. There is additional professional services, there is additional cross and upsell opportunity that always result in better customer success, loyalty, and strengthen your position at the end customer, being their trusted advisor. Because what customers want today is they do not necessarily want a product. They want to have a solution that is fixing their problem and that gives them something that is meaningful and actionable. And we are there constantly, all the time, at every level to support you and really put that teamwork at a new level. So we are there with POV, with education, with training, with marketing materials, with presentation. We join you on customer side. If you want to create a webinar session for your customers, we help you with the material. We come in and do this session for you. We check the slides first, change them to your layout, etc. Yeah. So in the end, we designed MSSD to be a risk-free, investment-free, easy, and immediate way to fast forward your evaluation into a value-added MSSP module. We're absolutely aware that some of you will, over time, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, build up something like this on their own. And that is totally fine, and we are happy to support you with this, with our existing vendors, Fortinet, Palo Alto, Exabeam, you name it. By helping you implementing these solutions into your own security operations center, into your own managed security service. That's totally fine, but we are still here to fast forward and give you immediate access to supply your customers with the solutions they ask for. And by that, I'm at the end of this presentation. As said, I think we have now more or less time is over. I think we have another 15 minutes, something like this. And so I will turn off this presentation, and then we turn on the microphones and see whether there are any Q&As or questions coming in, so we can answer these questions. If there are no questions, I need to turn this off here. Then again, thank you very much for your time. And as always, reach out to your account manager at Exclusive, and they will make sure you get all the answers, all the materials you need, and we support you from day one. So, do we have any questions? Liane, Hilde?
Hi,
I don't see anything, but I'm not sure whether I can actually see the questions in my view.
I don't think there are any questions yet, but I have a question. Can you share the presentation as well, because the webinar is recorded?
Yes.
are we allowed to share this presentation with the partners? Or?
Absolutely. I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you the presentation, and you can add this then to the content pack you are going to send to the customer. And there is much more available in regards to supporting documents, but it's just too much to talk about everything or show everything in a 1 hour webinar.
Yeah, so if there are any questions, or if someone wants to have another conversation to make it more deep dive, please reach out to me, or send an email to services@exclusivenetworks.nl. I think that's it for now, if there are no questions. We have a question, actually.
I see this. It's actually a very good question. It's nothing you can buy off the shelf. I'm not sure whether when I click through the services, you might have briefly seen it. It's purpose built. So it's built from scratch. It's nothing you can buy off the shelf. So no, it's not Splunk, it's not FortiSIEM, it's not Demisto, it's not Curator, whatever you can buy. It's completely purpose built. The reason why is it's actually a very simple thing. When you need to deliver such a service to the channel as a distributor, you need to make sure that you can integrate your service into whatever type of service our resellers already have. So therefore, we need to be able to use APIs, to use webhooks, to use any kind of technology that allows our partners to interact with, let's say, the Security Operations Center, take the information and feed this into their existing managed service. And that's not something you can do with any solution you can buy off the shelf. So it's nothing you can buy. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Andre. If there are no other questions, I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for your time. I think if anybody can tell the story, it's you. So, Theo says makes sense. Thanks. So, perfect. Yep. Well, I think we can say goodbye and thanks to everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Have a great remainder of this week, and stay healthy, stay safe, and if we can help you, just reach out to Hilda, Liana, or any other account manager within Exclusive Networks. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.